There are nights when the room around you is full of everything, yet your heart feels empty. There are days when you stand in the middle of a crowd, surrounded by laughter, friends, family, and work, yet deep inside, there is still a space that feels impossible to explain. A silence, a heaviness, a loneliness that cannot be put into words. Maybe today you smiled at everyone around you, but when you returned home, when the door closed, when the night became quiet, you realized a painful truth. You feel alone. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from having nobody around, but the kind of loneliness that happens when you feel like nobody truly understands you. Nobody knows what battles you are fighting. Nobody sees the tears you hide. Nobody knows how exhausted you truly are. And in moments like these, many people quietly ask a question. God, where are you? If you love me, if you see me, if you truly hear me, then why do I feel so alone? That is not a question of weakness. That is a question asked by hurting hearts. And you are not the first person to ask it. Throughout the Bible, many people chosen by God walked through valleys of loneliness. People of faith, people chosen for great purposes, people deeply loved by God. And still, they felt lonely. They cried. They wondered whether God had become silent. Think about David, a king, a warrior, a man anointed by God. Yet before he became king, he ran through caves, was hunted down, betrayed, and misunderstood. And during those dark days, David cried out, Lord, where are you? Perhaps one of the greatest comforts is not that strong people never feel lonely, but that some of the strongest people in Scripture felt it too. Elijah wanted to give up. Job lost almost everything. Moses felt overwhelmed. Peter failed. And even Jesus himself. In one of the most painful moments upon the cross, he cried, my God, why have you forsaken me? Pause for a moment and think about that. If even the greatest people of faith experienced loneliness, if even Jesus, in suffering, felt abandoned, then maybe what you are experiencing does not mean your faith is weak. It does not mean God has left you. It does not mean you have failed. Because sometimes loneliness is not evidence of God's absence. Sometimes loneliness is where we begin hearing His voice most clearly. We live in a noisy world. Phones never stop ringing. Social media never stops moving. Messages continue arriving. Voices are everywhere. Yet in the middle of all that noise, the human soul has become lonelier than ever. Why? Because the human heart was created for something greater than the attention of the world. We do not simply want people to notice us. We want to be understood. We want love. We want presence. And deep within our souls, what we are truly searching for is God. Many people try filling the emptiness with money. Some with work. Some with relationships. Some with endless distractions. But eventually night returns. And silence returns with it. Because there are empty places within the soul that only God can touch. Maybe today you are asking, if God is with me, why can't I feel Him? That is a real question. That is a painful question. And often we think God's presence must always feel dramatic. A sudden peace. a miracle, a sign from heaven. But Scripture teaches us something different. Sometimes God appears in storms. But sometimes He comes through the gentlest whisper. When Elijah waited for God, a powerful wind passed by. But God was not in the wind. An earthquake came. But God was not in the earthquake. Fire appeared. But God was not in the fire. Then a still, small voice spoke. And God was there. Maybe the problem is not that God is absent. Maybe among all the noise of life, we have forgotten how to listen. Maybe even now, while you think you are alone, God is sitting beside the pain you have never told anyone about. God sees the tears you wipe away in silence. God knows the battles taking place inside your mind. God understands the exhaustion hidden behind your smile. God knows. He has always known. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: you do not have to be strong before God. You do not have to pretend you are okay. You do not have to hide. You can come to Him with a broken heart. Because God does not love a perfect version of you. He loves the real you. Even on your weakest days. Even when you feel lost. Even when you feel like you no longer have enough faith. Because even when you no longer have the strength to hold God's hand, God still refuses to let go of yours. And maybe tonight, if you remember only one thing, remember this: God's silence does not mean God's absence. Sometimes the shepherd is closest to his sheep when he is walking through the darkness beside them. And maybe, at the very moment you feel the most alone, that may be the moment God is closer than He has ever been. There is something deeply painful about silence. Not the silence of an empty room. Not the silence after a long day. But the silence that comes after you pray and hear nothing. You prayed for healing. Nothing happened. You prayed for answers. Nothing changed. You prayed for peace. Yet anxiety remained. You prayed for God to open a door. But the door stayed closed. And if we are honest, this kind of silence can test faith more than pain itself. Because pain at least gives us something to fight. Pain gives us something we can see. But silence makes us wonder. Silence makes us question. Silence makes us ask difficult questions we are often afraid to speak out loud. God, are you listening? Do you see me? Have you forgotten me? Many believers carry these questions secretly. They worship in church. They smile in front of people. They say, "I'm doing fine." But deep inside, they are fighting a battle nobody sees. Because sometimes the greatest struggle of faith is not suffering. Sometimes it is waiting. Waiting for an answer. Waiting for direction. Waiting for God to move. And waiting can feel unbearable. Because we live in a world that hates waiting. We want immediate answers. Immediate results. Immediate healing. Immediate change. Everything around us moves quickly. But God often does not work according to our clocks. Because God is not only interested in changing our situation, He is also transforming our hearts. And sometimes His greatest work happens in seasons that feel empty. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream. A beautiful dream. A promise filled with hope. But after the dream came betrayal. After betrayal came slavery. After slavery came prison. Imagine Joseph sitting in darkness wondering, God, what happened to your promise? Years passed. Not days. Not weeks. Years. Can you imagine that? Watching time disappear while heaven says nothing. Watching prayers seem unanswered. Watching life move in directions that make no sense. Joseph could have concluded, God has forgotten me. But God had not forgotten him. Not for a single moment. Because while Joseph thought heaven had become silent, God was arranging things Joseph could not see. Kings were moving. Nations were shifting. Doors were being prepared. A future was unfolding. And one day Joseph discovered something powerful. God was working even during the silence. Maybe someone listening today feels trapped inside a season like that. You prayed. You trusted. You believed. But nothing seems different. And now discouragement whispers. Maybe God isn't listening. Maybe God moved on. Maybe God forgot. But what if heaven's silence does not mean inactivity? What if God is working underground like roots growing beneath the soil? Think about a seed. The moment a seed is planted, nothing seems to happen. Days pass. The ground looks unchanged. Everything appears silent, invisible, still. But underneath the soil, life is forming. Roots are growing. Preparation is happening. And eventually what was hidden becomes visible. Maybe your life feels like buried soil right now. Maybe all you see is darkness, stillness, silence. But perhaps beneath what you can see, God is growing roots that will sustain blessings you are not ready for yet. Because God sees things differently than we do. We ask for relief. God thinks about purpose. We ask for speed. God thinks about preparation. We ask for escape. God thinks about transformation. And often the places we call delays, God calls development. There are prayers you prayed years ago that God heard immediately. But hearing a prayer and answering it instantly are not always the same thing. Because timing matters. A child may ask for car keys. A loving father may say no. Not because he does not love the child, but because love sometimes waits. Love sometimes protects. Love sometimes sees dangers the child cannot understand. And perhaps there are moments in your life where God's silence was actually mercy. Moments when closed doors protected you. Moments when delays saved you. Moments when unanswered prayers became hidden blessings. But we often understand these things only looking backward, rarely while living through them. Faith has always required trust before understanding. And maybe that is why faith is difficult. Because we want explanations. But God often asks for trust. Not because He enjoys mystery, but because He sees what we cannot. So if you are walking through silence today, do not assume God abandoned you. Do not assume heaven forgot your name. Do not assume nothing is happening. Because some of God's greatest works begin in silence. And perhaps one day you will look back and realize the season you thought God left was actually the season He carried you. And maybe even now, in ways you cannot see, God is already moving.